So it's felt like an absolute eternity, but tomorrow we see Championship football returning, which can only mean one thing: we are back with the weekly score predictions videos. I'm really excited to get into this Championship season, guys. If you've not seen this series before, let me quickly explain how it all goes down. So every week I'll be giving you guys my Championship score predictions for what I think is going to happen in each individual game. FIFA 19 also makes their score predictions, but what I'm of course interested to know is what you guys have to say. So in the description down below you'll find all the matches taking place this weekend so that you can easily go ahead and make your score predictions in the comments down below, and then if you do successfully manage to get any of your predictions correct, your comment may be included into the next video. I think predicting week 1 of the Championship is probably the toughest one to do because you've not really got any form to read into apart from last season. There's a lot of factors to take into consideration, but I'm really excited to get into this one. So without any further ado, let's hop into my score predictions. So the game kicking things off in the Championship tomorrow night is between Luton and Middlesbrough. Luton, being promoted from League One, are going to be looking to ride on that momentum, and they had an unbelievable home record last season. They went unbeaten for the entirety of the season, winning 16 games and drawing 7. In that time at home, they averaged 2.47 goals per game, which is a fantastic record. Those attacking outlets are going to look to come in strong for this one, but they are going up against the best defence in the Championship. Last season, Borough only conceded 41 goals, the joint best defensive record along with Sheffield United, although I am expecting them to switch up their system a little bit this season. Now this will be Jonathan Woodgate's first game in charge of them, and I'd expect them to be ditching that 5 at the back they were playing under Tony Pulis, look to play a little bit more progressive going forward, and Borough could be a side who flies under the radar this season if Woodgate can get the best out of some of those attacking options. They've got some decent players in there, the likes of Assombalonga, Tavernier, Wing, and now Marcus Brown as well. I don't see there being all too much in this game between the two sides. I think that Luton will try and flood Borough going forward, but Borough, as we all know, a tough side to break down. For this one, I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw for the season opener, with FIFA saying it'll be a goalless draw. And then into Saturday's games, we've got another one of the newly promoted sides, Barnsley, this time going up against Fulham. They've not got an easy ride going up against one of the favourites to be promoted this year. We've spoke about it a lot lately, but Fulham have got a lot of attacking intent coming into this game. Last time Mitrovic was at this level in the Championship, he scored 12 goals in 17 appearances. I feel like his goals to game ratio will be absolutely crazy this season, and he's got to be nailed on for the Golden Boot with some of the service he's going to get from the likes of Knockout, Cavallero and Tom Kenny. However, with Fulham, I'm still a little bit concerned about their backline. I definitely think that Barnsley have the option to get them in this game. I imagine that Barnsley will go for that 4-4-2 formation, which served them so well for last season. Collie Woodrow gets a chance to go up against his former side. Last season, he scored 19 goals in all competitions. I'd imagine he'd be up front with Kiefer Moore. Those two work quite well with each other. And they've got quite a lot of options now, Barnsley, in midfield, with all the new additions who have come into the squad. Last season, Barnsley, similar to Luton, also went unbeaten at home, so I don't think they'll give Fulham an easy ride at Oakwell. And I can see goals being scored in this one. With how good Fulham are going forward, Barnsley won't make it easy for them. I'll go for a 2-2 draw for this one. I'd fancy quite an end-to-end game for this game. FIFA's backing Barnsley for a 2-1 home victory. I think that'll be a decent watch. And then after that, we got Blackburn going up against Charlton, the last of the newly promoted clubs this weekend. And going to Wheeler Park, not an easy game. Blackburn had a decent record there last season. I was quite impressed by a number of their performances. In terms of Blackburn, I'm interested to see who Tony Mowbray goes with up front for this first game of the season. Whether he does stick with Danny Graham, who was impressive last season, had a really good partnership with Bradley Dack, who likes to play in that number 10 role, or whether he switches it up a little bit, goes for new signing Sam Gallagher, or even Ben Brereton, who didn't really set the world alight last season, but from what I've heard in pre-season has been putting in some decent performances and has chipped in with a goal here and there. Blackburn have quite a few sort of dynamic forwards who, if you are looking to play sort of a fast flowing football on the counter-attack, they've got the option to do that. People like Adam Armstrong can really cause this Charlton defence some problems. Charlton, I still feel as if are light in a couple of areas. Chukwuemeka will be missing for this game. I think he's out with a hamstring injury, so they'll be a little bit lighter going forward. I've been fairly impressed with Blackburn's transfer activity so far, and I fancy them to get off to a decent start to the season. For this game, I'm going to back Rovers for a 2-0 home victory, with FIFA saying it'll be 1-0 Blackburn. Charlton, I think they may come a little bit unstuck in that game. It's not an easy place to go to. And then we got Brentford going up against Birmingham, another game which I can see a few goals being scored in. Last season, Brentford actually had the 3rd best home record in the league. They scored 50 goals. Only Norwich and West Brom scored more goals at home than Brentford did last season. So Birmingham got a little bit to be concerned about going into this one. You know, Brentford are capable of absolutely tearing apart teams when they are going forward. Obviously, the transfer window is still open, so there could be a little bit more of activity, people leaving Brentford between now and the end of the window, but at this point their squad is looking very strong, and going forward I think they will score a lot of goals this season. They're going up against a Birmingham side who are looking to integrate a new system going into this season. Last time it was that traditional 4-4-2 under Gary Monk. This time it's looking like they're trying to play a bit more progressive football with a 3 at the back formation. There is potential, you know, when you're trying to bed in a new system in the early days of the season, especially when you're going away to a team like Brentford, things could sort of cave in on itself if people aren't confident on the ball, and it might take Birmingham a little bit of time to click into gear with this new way they're trying to play for this season. For this one, I've got a feeling that with Brentford, I know how they're going to play. Birmingham, there's a few more unknowns for this one. I'm going to back Brentford for a 3-1 home victory. I do fancy them to start this season off fairly well. I remember last season, I think they put 5 goals past Rotherham on the opening day. I'll back Brentford for a 3-1. FIFA's going to say it'll be 1-0 Birmingham. Good game to watch, I think. And then we got North End going up against Millwall. Last season, Preston got off to an absolutely awful start to the season. We were bottom of the league after 11 games, so I'm hoping that this time we'll have learnt from those mistakes and we'll actually get off to a decent start this time. Not easy though, going away to the Den. I feel like Millwall will want to put the pressure on us from minute 1 for this game. I'd imagine they'd be setting up with that 4-4-2 formation. I don't know the stats behind it, but I'm guessing Millwall will have to have one of the tallest squads in the league with some of the players they've got dotted throughout that squad. You know, people like Cooper's going to be an absolute menace from set pieces, and with how poor we were at defending crosses coming into the box last season, that's a little bit of a concern going into this one, although I do think Bauer coming in at the back will improve us in those areas. Last season, Millwall away, I'd argue, was probably one of our best performances of the season, actually. The first half performance of that game, where we put 3 goals past Millwall, we were absolutely fantastic. Ben Pearson was running the show for us in midfield, and if we can replicate that performance again, you know, I think we'll be sorted for this one. But throughout pre-season, the performances from North End have been a little bit varied. Going forward, I'd like to see Sonny Maguire starting this game. I think he's looked like our sharpest striker in pre-season. I think that if we were to play someone like Stockley and play a little bit more direct, we might be playing into Millwall's hand. I think the best way to approach this game against Millwall will be to attack on the break, and with people like Maguire and Barkhuizen going forward, they could be quite effective for this game. I don't think there'll be all too much in this one though. I'm going to say it'll finish as a 1-1 draw. FIFA's back in North End for a 2-0, but I can't see there being much in it. Next up, we then got Reading going up against Sheffield Wednesday. I think a lot of Reading fans are genuinely excited about this season, and that's the first time we can probably say that about Reading in a while, despite a few people tipping them for relegation. I don't get that impression. I think that they've got a very good manager now under Jose Gomez. Pre-season looked promising for them with some of the football they were playing, and I can definitely see them causing Sheffield Wednesday some problems for this one. In terms of pre-season, I think that Reading are probably a little bit better set up for this game, added to the fact that Sheffield Wednesday are still yet to hire a permanent manager, with Lee Bullen in charge for this one temporarily. Also added on for Sheffield Wednesday is the fact that Fernando Forestieri is going to be missing the first 6 games of the season after being found guilty of racism charge from last season by the FA. I think that plays into Reading's hands a little bit. I like some of the options that Reading have got going forward at the moment. Pace on the wings is something that's going to cause a lot of size problems this year, and for a prediction, I think I'm just going to back Reading for a 2-1 home victory, with FIFA saying it'll be 1-0 Sheffield Wednesday. And after that, we got Stoke going up against QPR. I'm hoping we're going to see some goals in this one, and it'll be a bit of a change from Stoke last season. Stoke last season averaged 10 shots per game, which, to put into context, only Ipswich Town and Bolton Wanderers had less shots per game than Stoke did. There was a real lack of creativity and any sort of imagination going forward. They have addressed that in some areas of the squad. There's been a lot of incomings both for QPR and for Stoke, and we're probably going to see, you know, quite a lot of changes in both starting 11s compared to last season. With Stoke, I like the foundations of the team they're building on at the moment. It's just the forward 2 I'm not completely sold on. Sam Vokes, I think, will score goals in the Championship. I'm not sure who his strike partner is going to be for this one. If it's going to be someone like Benikafobe, I'm not sure how well those two will click in with each other, but, you know, the time will only tell for that going throughout this season. And then with QPR, it's pretty much going to be a completely different starting 11 to what we were seeing there last season. They've had a lot of new incomings this season, many of which I'd imagine will jump straight into the starting 11. You know, they've got a pretty much new back 4 this time. And I said it in my Championship prediction video the other week that it really could go either way with QPR this season. There's quite a lot of unknowns for them, but they do have a decent manager under Warburton, and things could just click into place. Just for the sake of it, I'm going to say that this one's going to finish as another 0-0 draw, and that curse will continue to haunt Stoke this season. So I'll go for a 0-0 draw. FIFA said it's going to be 1-1. I do hope it's not 0-0, by the way. After that, we then got Swansea going up against Hull. 2 managers making their Championship debut for this one. Steve Cooper for Swansea and Grant McCann for Hull. So an interesting one to go into. Last season, both sides played some pretty decent football, so I'd expect this one to be an interesting tactical battle. Last season, Swansea had the 8th best home record and picked up some pretty decent results along the way at the Liberty, so I don't think they'll make it easy for Hull, who were a little bit inconsistent on the road. Obviously, the big news for Hull thus far into the transfer window is they've still kept hold of Grosicki and Bowen, the one thing they'll be hoping to do by the end of it. Swansea now, without Ollie McBurney, lost a big part of their side there, but I'd imagine Borja Baston is going to be the player looking to replace him this season. We've only really seen a handful of appearances from him in English football so far, but I'm interested to see how he gets on in Championship football. For this one, I think I'm just going to back Swansea for a 2-1 home victory. I see them just edging this one, with FIFA saying it'll be a 1-1 draw. Wigan going up against Cardiff. Wigan last season had a really good record at the DW. They only lost 4 games, made it quite hard for sides visiting there, but a tough opener for them going up against relegated side Cardiff, who I think will be looking to hit the ground running under Neil Warnock this season. And with the additions that Cardiff have made to their squad this season, I think they're looking fairly healthy for a top 6 push. Defensively, I like the look of their team at the moment. I think they'll be a hard team to break down, and going forward as well, they've also added goals. Wigan have been fairly busy in the transfer window lately. They've just completed the signing of Dujon Sterling coming on loan for this season, and Joe Williams as well. Quite a tough tackling midfielder there. I think that was necessary for another addition into the squad, and it is looking likely as a recording that they will be completing the signing of Jamal Lowe as well. So Wigan leaving their business fairly late into the window. I think it may take a little bit of time for all of those players to gel into the squad. It's a tough way to start the season though. I think I'm just going to edge Cardiff for a 1-0 away victory. I don't think there'll be much in it, with FIFA saying it'll be a 1-1 draw. Tough game to call. And then to the evening kickoff on Saturday, we see Nottingham Forest going up against West Brom. This one's set up to be an interesting game as well. 2 new managers going up against each other, Sabri Lamucci of Nottingham Forest and Slaven Bilic of West Brom. 2 sides who have been very busy into the transfer window thus far. I've already said it previously, I'm fancying West Brom to have a decent season this time. I think they've been fairly sensible with the players they've gone for in the market, and a couple more attacking options, and I think they'll be set for the season. Going up against the Forest side, who have mostly dipped into the foreign market with the players they've gone for. They've got a completely new midfield and a couple more wide options in there now, and I believe that João Carvalho is out for the start of the season for Forest. That's going to be a little bit of a miss for them, lacking in maybe a little bit of creativity. He's someone who I do fancy to have a big season for Forest. But it's going to be 2 new managers looking to enforce a new style of play onto each side, and with both of them trying to figure each other out, I can't see much being in it between the two on the opening day. So for this one, I'll go for a 1-1 draw, with FIFA saying it'll be 2-0 West Brom. Sunday's game sees Bristol City going up against Leeds United. A tough game to call at the moment with Leeds and Bristol City, because I'm not really sure what lineup either side's going to go for. Leeds will be without Kamaru for the start of the season, which is going to mean that it's probably going to be Patrick Bamford leading the line for Leeds. Can be a little bit hit or miss. You never really know what you're going to get from a striker like Bamford, but maybe after this pre-season we'll see a consistent year from him in the Championship, although I'm not sure how likely that is. Bristol City last season, really tough side to break down, brilliant defensive record. However, with the imminent loss of, it looks like, Adam Webster, we'll see how that affects their backline. Bristol City, another weird side, because you never really know what you're going to get from them going forward. You know, we could see either someone like Vyman scoring a hat-trick for this game, or they can miss a handful of goal-mouth scrambles. I think at the moment both sides aren't quite complete. I'd like to see probably both sides actually make a couple more additions between now and the end of the window. So going forward, I'm not quite sure about either side, but in midfield I think both are looking very strong at the moment. And with Leeds, despite maybe not having the most clinical striker playing up front, I'd still expect them to be creating a lot of chances per game. And you have to remember as well how fast Leeds started last season. I think they went unbeaten for their first 8 matches. They really set the world alight in those opening games. So for this one, I think I'm just swaying towards Leeds. I'll back them for a 1-0 away victory, but another one where I don't see much being in it. Bristol City could easily take the 3 points from that. And then to round off the video, on Monday night we got Huddersfield going up against Derby. Probably one of the toughest sides to predict this season, where people thinking, oh, Huddersfield going to finish, you know. In my prediction video I did, there was a massive variation as to how good people think Huddersfield will do this season, but despite the players they've got there and the people who've actually managed to keep hold of from their time in the Premier League, I don't think their squad's looking too bad. I think their potential starting 11 going into this game against Derby is looking fairly strong as well. Derby, I think, are still yet to conclude their transfer business. They're still being linked with a lot of players, especially some defensive reinforcements. Looking at their current squad as a recording, that's an area where I see some weaknesses and where they could be a little bit exploited after losing some players from last season. With Derby, it's going to be their first game under new manager Philip Koku, so he's going to be wanting to get off to a good start for this game. But I've got a feeling about Huddersfield in this one. I think they're set up fairly strong at the moment and they'll want to hit the ground running. I think it'll be close, but I'll just edge the home side for a 2-1 victory in this game, with FIFA saying it'll be 3-0 to Huddersfield. But guys, there you have it. That will now wrap it up for today's video, and there are my Championship Week 1 score predictions. So as always, I would love to get your guys' views on what you will think will happen in the opening weekend in the comments down below. If you did go on to enjoy the video, make sure you leave a like. It is always massively appreciated. Make sure you subscribe for some regular Championship content. Also, a massive thank you for 21,000 subscribers. But apart from that, guys, that will now wrap it up. So thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.